Hello, Laura Donnelly here from The Healing Path, and I'm excited to be here today. I have a beautiful guest with a beautiful mission, and one of the things that I really love about these conversations is I learn so much in each one of them, and I meet such wonderful people, new friends and old friends, and people soon to be friends. The important thing about these conversations is that they present openings and possibilities and steps you could take onto the healing path of your own choice. Miriam and I will talk about this, but everybody's journey is unique, but there are mile markers that we all come up to and have to go through. The primary thing for me is that all healing begins with self-healing. And whether you go to a doctor and you do medical treatments, there is a place inside of us that has to be open to healing. And maybe doesn't really know exactly what healing looks like, because sometimes healing is revealed to us. So I will bring Miriam Grunhaus onto the screen, and she will tell you a little bit more about her journey and her special healing process. Hi, Miriam. Great.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. It's one of my happy times it was meeting you.
Yes, I am very grateful to be here and to share my message with your following. And if I can be of help, I'm happy. I'm happy to serve.
I love that. I understand completely from one heart to the other heart.
That's right. That's right.
So how did you get started on this unique path? And I see your drawing behind you, which is Kintsugi and
Yes,
inspired, right?
that's right. I am all Kintsugi. I'm a little bit obsessed with Kintsugi. So I'll explain. I'll show you. I have an example of a Kintsugi dish. So for your viewers to understand what it is a method of mending broken pottery developed in Japan in the 1500s. And it has stayed as part of their culture. And the message and philosophy of Kintsugi is that we can all heal, we can all put our pieces back together, and we don't have the need to hide what, the areas that we were broke, but that we should highlight them because these are badges of honor. And if we put gold and we embellish them, we become more beautiful, more special, and stronger. It's actually very interesting because if a kintsugi dish falls and breaks again, it will not break where it has been mended because the urushi, the lacquer, and gold used to mend them makes those areas so strong. And it's another message for us in life to know, yes, we will break again. Life is this ups and downs that we go through, and we're here to grow, and we're here to become better people. And that happens by breaking and mending. But those areas that we do the proper work to mend and we do it the right way, they stay strong. Once we start getting those resilience tools, they become part of us. We can always open up that toolbox and use those tools in the future when something else in our lives breaks apart. So you asked me, how did I go and get into this path? I started and I worked for 25 years as a graphic designer and marketer, and I was doing well, and I loved what I did. I had an expertise of working with big pharmaceutical companies in ethics and compliance and really loved it. But when I faced adversity, it was exactly at the same time that one of the big pharmaceutical companies went through mergers and acquisitions. So my business was slow and I was a mess, and I love to work. So I needed to go back to work. I needed to be busy because I was numbing my pain with work. It was not any different than somebody who takes drugs to hide and mask their pain. I just did it with work. So I decided to start a new business. I became a fashion designer. I knew absolutely nothing about it. I don't know how to sew till today, but I am a fashion designer. And I started a clothing line. 2 years in, I was not feeling fulfilled because I am not into fashion. I'm not a real fashionista. And I was not healing, I was masking my pain. And one day, and nothing is coincidental, right? One day I get a message on WhatsApp. A friend of mine sent me a video, and it was this young Thai man explaining about the art of kintsugi. And it was the biggest aha moment of my life because as a visual learner, when I saw the pottery, I realized, you know what? I can put my pieces back together because I always felt that I was broken beyond repair after that period of my life. And I said, no, I'm not broken beyond repair. I can be kintsugi. And at that moment, I said, you know what? I'm going to change my entire fashion brand into being a source of inspiration and empowerment to women. I want to be that person in fashion that's going to create something for the broken.
Wow.
So I completely changed my fashion brand. In a way, I started it all over again, a rebranding. I designed prints and figuring out how to do the foil, the gold, and the clothing. And at the same time, I said, but if I want to heal, how am I going to learn how to heal? I have the path of going to therapy and see if I'm going to speak to somebody and help me heal. And I had done, and I had gone, and I had met with some people, a therapist during the adversity. But remember, 2.5 years passed, and I was managing, but I was hiding and masking my pain, right? And I said, you know what? That's not my way. When I buy something from IKEA, I don't read how to build. I first build, and then I see what I did wrong and I fix. I go to the end first, and then I reconstruct. It's just the way that I do things. So I decided to speak to thrivers. I wanted to talk to women who had done the work. And I wanted to interview them, and I wanted to find if they had something in them that made them strong. I wanted to see if it was actions or if it was innate behaviors that they were just resilient. I wanted to learn and see at the end of the journey what it looked like. So for over 2 years now, I interview regularly thrivers, women from all walks of life, all religions, all ethnicities, all ages, all looks, all everything different, from all walks of life, and also all different types of adversities. I've interviewed people that was abused, people that lost limbs, people that was sick, people that have children that are sick. I mean, you name it, I've interviewed. And I always took notes and I wrote down the lessons that I learned from each woman. Because I was writing a blog, and my blog is, everybody can read my blog. It's on my fashion website. I have a blog and everybody can read those interviews. But I was on a search, right? I was interviewing these women, not just to create content. I was interviewing these women because I was on a search for myself. I wanted to know what they had in common. And I learned something incredible. I learned a lot of incredible things, but what I learned is that it doesn't matter the background, it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter anything, it doesn't matter even the adversity. All it matters is that beginning desire to not be a victim anymore, to say enough is enough. Nobody's gonna come save me. I have to take responsibility for my life and I have to do the work. And then it starts the work, and the work was the same between all the women. Now, what I mean by the same, they implemented at different times of their journey. They implemented slightly different. For example, many women wrote, they journaled, or they wrote their feelings. Some wrote books, some wrote a journal, some wrote emails to themselves. But there was an element of writing, soul writing, that these women did at some point in their journey. So the activities were a little bit different, but in essence, they were the same. And what I did with the book that I just came out right now, the Heal with Gold book, and I'll tell you a little bit about it, is the top 10 nuggets that I learned from these women, that 100% of these women did these things, like all of them. So I kept saying to myself, if every single woman does those 10 things, if I'll apply those 10 things to my life, in my way, in my method, in my timing, in my format, but those things, I should find healing. And I did. I started implementing these things in my life. And one day I woke up without that chokehold that I had felt for such a long time around my throat. And I was feeling more joyful. And I understood that, nobody asks to go through adversity, nobody. But all of us who goes through adversity, when we are on the other side of adversity, we love the person we became. And we don't want to go back to the person that we were before. So it's interesting because we wouldn't wish it upon ourselves and on anybody. We don't want to go through another adversity, but we do recognize that going through the adversity and taking the steps, we become someone so much more beautiful, so much stronger and wiser and better, and kintsugi. And that's why I have this hashtag, we are kintsugi, because when we do the work and we put ourselves back together, when we mend our hearts, we are kintsugi. And we should be celebrated. And our breaks becomes badges of honor because we survived and thrived through that experience. So so then the fashion brand continues on. I wrote this book that just came out 2 weeks ago, and now I'm creating a course because I don't believe that reading a book is going to heal you. Reading a book is the beginning, is letting you know, listen, this is the path. You still need to go and take the first steps. You need to go through that journey. And sometimes it's very hard to do it alone. And some people, like I, needed to speak to thrivers. Some people may need a hand, may need a group, may need a support to go through this journey. And through my course, that's what I'm creating. And it's as I'm creating the course, I so wish I had that during my time of complete brokenness. It is a course that it's a hands-on experience. There is an art project, there is meditation, so there's sound, healing. There's a lot of different aspects. If you don't want the meditation, don't listen to the meditation. You don't want to do the art, don't do the art. But it's a very comprehensive process to go through the steps that, in a way, these women went through and succeeded.
I have a question. So when you started talking to the people you call thrivers, in the beginning, did you have the idea of a book, or did you just want to talk to them?
I just wanted to talk to them. I never imagined I would write a book. I'm Brazilian. The concept of writing a book in English for me was scary. Also, I come from a home where my parents are true academics, very intellectuals. My father has written many books. My mother's written books. And I felt very intimidated because I never lived in one country long enough during my formative years where I was learning the language that I felt that I could equate to how my parents wrote. They write, so their ability with language, so I never thought that I would write a book. But at some point I said, you know what, it's not about me, and it's not about the language. It's only about if this book can help one person. And when you think about that one person, if one person is going to read this and she's going to start that trajectory to find joy again, then it was worth writing a book. It was worth going through my experience, because now I'm multiplying the goodness that I bring into the world. So that came much later. Actually, it started this year. January, I have like a journal where I write what I want to do, what's my word for the year, what I want to accomplish in the big scale this year. Those are things that I implemented after my journey to finding joy. And I wrote, I'm going to write a book in 2020. And when came March, and I hadn't started, I said, wow, it takes months to write a book, to publish it. I don't know anything about it. I have to learn the whole process of writing a book. So I sat down and I did the work and I published my book. And it's out for 2 weeks.
Well, it's a beautiful use of the time of COVID
Correct.
because everybody had to kind of pull in
Mm-hmm.
some way. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that the book was an evolution, and the process of healing is an evolution. And publishing the book is a piece of your healing.
That's right.
And so the idea that at the beginning of the journey, anybody knows what the end is going to look like. That's a mystery. I mean, like when you have a broken pot, like the Kintsugi pot, you just have all the pieces, and you're going to put them together, but you really don't know how they're going to look.
100%. You have to trust that you're going to be stronger than you are right now, and just take the first step. To me, my main concern was to be joyful again, because I grew up I was a joyful kid, and I was a joyful teenager, and little things made me happy. It was easier to make me happy, And when I was sad, I was so sad, I was so, so sad. And it was very hard to go from somebody who knows joy to not having joy in life. And I just wanted to be joyful again. And I didn't believe I could. And I actually even judged other people. I had a friend that at the same time that I was going through what I was going through, she lost a 12-year-old daughter in a car accident. And I said to myself, I remember saying to myself, wow, this mom, she's never going to smile again. That was a horrible thing to even think. But in my eyes of sadness, I couldn't think that this mother could ever recover from such a loss. But it's not true. The loss is there, and the pain is there, and the scars are there. But that doesn't mean that you can't have an incredible, beautiful, joyful life after adversity.
Well, this is what I really like about your message also and it's a kind of a similar one to what I say is the thing is not gone. You don't erase it like it never existed.
That's right.
You just learn to work with it differently, and I think the same is true of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, when I was little, they would say something like forgive and forget, and I would be just like, no, if I forget, I'm going to be vulnerable again to the same problem, and later, I think we talked about this earlier one time when we talked, is that forgiveness has many steps and different places in your life, and what forgiveness is. It's not just putting yourself out there again to be stomped on again. It's
100%, 100%. And I have a chapter on forgiveness, because forgiveness is one of the 10 nuggets. But the way that I saw with the women, especially those who went through terrible trauma like rape, abuse, is and I actually makes me upset when people tell other people, if you forgive is the biggest gift you give yourself. The reason I don't like this sentence is because the type of forgiveness that is the biggest gift that you give yourself is when you forgive yourself for your responsibility in whatever happened in your life. And that is the biggest gift that you can give yourself. When somebody is traumatized, like somebody is a victim of a heinous crime, what we can ask this person is to let go of the attachment of this pain, right? If it's somebody or something that created so much pain, the anger is something that's tying you to whatever hurt you. So the more angry you are, the more connected you are with that event or that person. Letting go means is separating and saying, you cannot hurt me anymore. All the feelings that I have in my heart are going to be used for goodness towards me, for my self-love, to love the ones that are around me. I can't use this energy to hate you anymore, because when I'm hating you, I'm connecting myself to you, and I have to let go. So it is more of a severing of that connection that we create through hate. Every energy, it's a way that we're connecting us to someone. So I believe that we need to let go of the past, let go of the pain, and use all of that strength that we have, that we used for hating or angry or being upset, and channel it. And there is a way to channel it for good thoughts and love and forgiveness for ourselves. We're humans, we made mistakes, but we always want to grow and become better people. So the whole conversation of forgiveness, I find that it's a serious conversation. At times, it's taken it into not taken into consideration when somebody was very, very traumatized by somebody else. If somebody didn't ask you for permission to borrow a top, it's easy to forgive this person. But if somebody, was gang raped, how do you tell that person, oh, forgive them? You're going to feel, it's better. How can we tell somebody else that went through such types of trauma? So it's a complicated thing. Let's put it this way. It's a complicated topic.
I had worked with somebody, and they were a terrible bully, just a terrible bully. And I didn't even let myself admit it until I was gone from being with them. And then people would say, well, are you glad to be out of there? And I would say yes. I said, but if this person fell down the stairs in front of me, I might not call 911. And they would go, you're kidding. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not kidding. I'm still frustrated and angry. And after a little while of going through this, because it is me, I realized I was angry at myself for trusting this person in the first place. That all along, ever since I had first met them, something inside of me was saying, this person is not really trustworthy for me. Doesn't mean that this person was not fine for 50,000 other people, just not fine for me. And I was like, none of this was her fault. I mean, you are the person who put yourself there. And I was a grown up. I was really old by the time I did this. So not like a little kid, right? So a little kid doesn't really know. And, but then I had a dream where I saw her. And in the dream, I told her, well, I forgave you. And she goes, I don't believe you. And I said, I don't care. And I woke up laughing. And it was a big healing, a big healing step for me. Now, let's see. We have a couple of comments I want to check in with. Somebody says that she's still carrying pain and post-traumatic stress disorder from childhood. But this person recognizes that they're on a journey. It just says Facebook user. I don't know who it is. But this is that recognition of a journey is the first step.
100%. It takes time. And I want to say that from the women that I interviewed, there were women that really did tremendous progress in a year. But there were women that, the real progress started flourishing between 10 and 15 years down the line. So the timing is very different for each person, because we're all different and unique, and how we persist with our activities that makes us feel better about ourselves, it's also different. Somebody can be very focused for a year and then lose focus. You do 3 steps back, you need to start again with good habits and good routines. And routines very important for healing, that you have a routine because, the mind goes into bad places. How to control your mind. Your mind can only think about one thing at a time. So when you know that and you have a bad thought, how are you going to take this bad thought and make it into a good thought? Because it can only hold one thought at a time. Now, what's happening in your subconscious is different, but your thinking mind that you were aware can only think of one. And I know for me, this was a huge, I kept imagining things worse. And I kept, and it became like this snowball. But what if, and what if, and what if? And I was bringing all of this anxiety for things that weren't even true. It was just my thinking disastrous things. So you have to say, no, I can't let my mind go there. This is not good. So let's go into gratitude. Let's start thinking about all my blessings. Let's think about all the good things that I have in my life. And the more you do, when you live in gratitude, that's definitely one of the golden nuggets. But living in gratitude, and there is a way to live. In my book, I explain what it means to be living in gratitude. And it's not waking up in the morning and say, thank you for my day that I'm alive, because you cannot do that consistently. So I describe the right way to learn to live in gratitude and see every tiny blessings that you have in your life. But you always have to think that you have a choice. Living with joy is a choice. Mending is a choice. And it's a choice that we have to renew every single day. It is not something that you're going to choose once and it's going to get done. And even after you feel better, you have to continue choosing every morning. I choose to be joyful. So if I choose to be joyful, then I choose to have good thoughts, and I choose to be in gratitude, and I choose to have good habits, and I choose the friends that I'm going to keep, and I choose how I'm going to talk to myself. And that becomes part of your journey, and it's a choice you have to make every day.
I think that's really important too, because sometimes people think, well, I went through that, I healed that, and a few years later they come back by an episode of this, and it shakes the whole foundation because it's similar. But if you've been doing your practice and growing in your self-care, and you're paying attention to your mind, I like to say what you think about grows.
That's right.
So if you think about joy, it grows. If you think about gratitude, it grows. If you think about those, what ifs,
It grows.
Will grow.
Yeah.
And it's the other thing is, I was thinking about the Kintsugi again, is that this is, I would love to, if you still have that video that you mentioned, we could post that video with this, because I use super glue, but I might change my plan when I break something I like, because I like the idea of the gold better, But this isn't a fast process.
No.
This is, where does this piece go? How does it fit here? And mending, like even when you break a bone or something, it will heal and it will knit back together. But you need to give yourself good nutrition, good rest, good thoughts as the mending is happening. So I think it's just a beautiful metaphor. And I also, what I like about it too, is it's a powerful metaphor for like strong. And the other thing that came into my mind was the metaphysical alchemy, turning lead into gold. And when we feel broken, we feel heavy. And for me, even though gold is a metal that is kind of, it has weight, to me it also is light and and joyful.
Exactly. And you know what? The gold, in a way, it's almost like leaving that space. There is an openness because the light, right? The light shines through, right? When you have, it's because it's okay for us to have an open heart. We're not used to having a broken heart. We want everything perfect, but an open heart is a beautiful thing also, because when we go through things, we become more empathetic. and more loving towards other people, right? When we start restoring ourselves and feeling better about ourselves and our situation, we're a lot more thoughtful and loving and empathetic towards others. So there is something very beautiful about an open heart. We don't want it broken, but we want open, and we want to let others in, and we want to let our lights out and illuminate other people. And that's the, that is when you understand that your mission in life is connected to whatever broke you, to your mess. And then at that point, and you start talking about and helping others, that's when you see, oh my God, thank God I went through what I went through, because today I can be this person. Listen, I could be still doing graphic design and I loved it, but I was just living my life. Now my life has so much meaning. Every woman, every text that I get from the women that I help feeds me for months, that the joy is so tremendous. So yes.
That open heart, that connected heart, I think that's a beautiful place to end. If people have questions, this will be in the Healing Path group, and you can connect there, and you can ask Miriam questions. Also, there are links to connect to her on Facebook and to her beautiful group. She has a group focused on healing. So I want to thank you so much for sharing your journey, for sharing your joy.
My pleasure.
And I can't wait to see the video.
I'll send it to you right away.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Miriam.
My pleasure.
I appreciate everybody who